Alright guys, welcome to This Week in Tech, where I bring you the tech news of the week, some of the big ticket items, so let's jump right into it. Let's start with the OpenAI and AMD announcement involving a massive computing deal marking the new phase of the AI boom. The 5-year agreement will challenge NVIDIA's market dominance, as OpenAI plans deployment of AMD's new MI450 chips. So OpenAI plans to actually start building its own AI data centers. And the details of the agreement involve OpenAI purchasing 6 gigawatts of AMD chips, expected to generate tens of billions in revenue for AMD over the next 5 years, with each gigawatt costing tens of billions. OpenAI will receive warrants for up to 160 million AMD shares, which is about 10% of the company, at 1 cent per share, contingent on meeting deployment milestones and AMD's stock price increasing. And AMD went up 24% on that day on that news. And AMD's official account referred to it as a strategic partnership. They said, "We are thrilled to partner with OpenAI to deliver AI compute at massive scale. This partnership brings the best of AMD and OpenAI together to create a true win-win, enabling the world's most ambitious AI build-out and advancing the entire AI ecosystem." And BlackRock just paid 40x revenue to buy a 5 gigawatt data center capacity that is still under construction. AJ says smart money is buying compute at peak prices. What does BlackRock see that the AI is in a bubble folks don't see? Well, the Kobeissi letter says that AI compute demand is now growing at over 2 times the rate of Moore's law, creating a massive shortage. Just to meet current demand, 500 billion must be invested in data centers per year until 2030. What does this mean? Well, let us explain. Compute demand grows twice as fast as chip efficiency, and for decades Moore's law was the gold standard measure of technological progress. That is, the number of transistors on an integrated circuit doubles every 2 years. AI has broken this law. AI's compute demand has grown at double the rate of Moore's law over the last 10 years. AI compute has done a 1000x in the last 8 years. So compute is quickly becoming the world's most valuable commodity. By 2028, global data center spend will hit 900 billion. And AI servers are growing at a 41% compound annual growth rate, and the market overall is growing at a 23% compound annual growth rate. This is unprecedented growth for the industry. And what's even more interesting is amid the daily billion-dollar AI deals, data centers are now facing an $800 billion revenue shortfall. Just to fund data center construction through 2030, we need $2 trillion in revenue. So data centers are the new oil. And this makes data centers incredibly valuable amid the AI revolution. Data center construction, just the cost of building the center itself, has increased to an annual rate of 43 billion. This is up 320% higher than 4 years ago. The cost does not include chips or servers. And that cost does not include chips or servers. And here's data center construction spending over time, going all the way back to 2014. As a result, we are witnessing a modern-day gold rush. There are now $40 billion worth of US data centers under construction, up 400% since 2022. For the first time, the value of US data centers under construction will soon exceed office buildings. This is a historic shift. The byproduct of this is a major energy shortage. AI data centers are set to consume 1,600 terawatt hours of power demand by 2035, equal to 4.4% of global electricity. Power demand from AI data centers is set to quadruple over the next 10 years, so we need more electricity. So this brings 2 key questions to mind. Where's all the money going to come from, and where's all of the electricity going to come from? It will require a mix of technological, economic, and regulatory solutions, and in our view, we are still very early in the AI revolution. Well, on the subject of electricity, an interesting fact: China's exports of clean energy technology hit a record in August, with $20 billion shipped globally. And so China now earns more from exporting solar panels, batteries, and electric cars and other clean energy tech than the US does through fossil fuel exports. And so far in 2025, they earn $40 billion more. And so news broke yesterday that Trump says he is putting an extra 100% tariff on China imports and adding export controls on critical software. This is the original post, but Sawyer enlarged the text for us, so let's read this one. So Trump said, "It has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade in sending in an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It is absolutely unheard of in international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations. Based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position, and speaking only for the USA and not other nations who were similarly threatened, starting November 1st or sooner depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States will impose a tariff of 100% on China, over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Also, on November 1st, we will impose export controls on any and all critical software. And just the other day, Jensen Huang sort of compared where the US stands in the AI race against China.
How far ahead of China do you think we are in terms of AI development at this point? How close?
Depending on which layer of the stack, but overall, I would say we're not far ahead. If you look at the entire stack, they're way ahead on energy. I am so happy that President Trump leaned into pro-growth, pro-energy growth, so that an entire industry above it could grow. If you could just imagine, without President Trump's pro-energy policy, that entire layer above the energy would have been constrained. China's well ahead of us on energy. We are way ahead on chips. They're right there on infrastructure. They're right there on AI models. Our models are better overall. OpenAI's is better, Anthropic's is better, Gemini's better. However, their open source models are well ahead of us. And then on the application layer, we have to be quite mindful because their applications are very fast moving. Their society is very quick in adopting new technology. They're under-regulated they don't regulate heavily at the industrial level. And so the applications in China are advancing incredibly fast. This is an area that I'm quite concerned about. I hope that American companies and American society are going to be fast in adopting AI applications, because ultimately this industrial revolution wins at the AI application layer, at the diffusion layer.
The race is real and the US needs to counter each advantage rapidly. And here is a generative AI traffic share update. You can see that 12 months ago, OpenAI had almost 90% of the traffic share. Their market share has been getting chipped away at. It now stands around 75%. And a big takeaway is you can see Gemini expanding. I think the fact that now you can use AI mode when you use Google search has really been increasing their traffic share. You can see DeepSeek had a surge 6 months ago, but they've been losing market share. Grok has lost some market share, and Perplexity is catching up with Grok. Here are the exact market share numbers today. ChatGPT 74%, Gemini 14%, DeepSeek 4%, Grok 2%, Perplexity 2%. And as Gemini continues to ascend, Sahil says that Google really is the Berkshire of tech. They own 14% of Anthropic, 8% of SpaceX. They acquired DoubleClick for $3 billion, which is the backbone of the Google Ads empire. They acquired YouTube for $1.6 billion in 2006, worth hundreds of billions today. They acquired Android in 2005 for $50 million, now the world's most widely used operating system. They acquired DeepMind in 2014 for $500 million, a huge AI lab with almost state-of-the-art models and a great research team. And it runs the Moonshot Factory, an incubator of radical ideas like Waymo, Loon, winged drones. And through Capital G has invested in Stripe, UiPath, Airbnb, Lyft, Databricks, CrowdStrike, Duolingo, Robinhood, and more. I didn't know that Google owns some SpaceX, so that was cool. And SpaceX probably has a role in the expansion of AI data centers. Jeff Bezos says within 10 to 20 years, the giant gigawatt-scale data centers for AI training clusters will be built in space. This would leverage 24/7 solar power. Elon has also said something like this before.
One of the things that's going to happen in the next, it's hard to know exactly when, it's 10 plus years, but I bet it's not more than 20 years. We're going to start building these giant gigawatt data centers in space. So these giant training clusters, those will be better built in space because we have solar power there 24/7, and the solar power there are no clouds and no rain, no weather. So you can build. We will be able to beat the cost of terrestrial data centers in space in the next couple of decades. And so space will end up being one of the places that keeps making Earth better. It already has happened with weather satellites. It's already happened with communication satellites. The next step is going to be data centers and then other kinds of manufacturing.
And Chamath said the same thing on the All In podcast this week. He said the grid is not going to be able to keep up with all of this expansion. And he says limitless solar energy and zero cooling could power the next wave of AI compute in space. And going back to that Jeff Bezos interview, he called AI an industrial bubble. He argues that's how real breakthroughs get funded and believes AI will still reshape every industry and reward society in the long run.
Well, okay, so to take you back in time, in the year 2000, when the internet bubble burst, Amazon's stock in a very short period of time went from $113 a share to $6 a share. And by the way, it's split many times since then. I don't know, 20 for one or maybe even more. I don't have the number. But so these prices have nothing to do with today's stock prices. But to go from 113 to 6 in a short period of time was very concerning. And shareholders were upset, employees were nervous. We had all of our employee base, their parents were all calling our employees and saying, "Are you okay?" You know, this was the environment of great nervousness. But I looked at the numbers in the business, and every month, as the stock price went from 113 to 6, a number of customers went up every month. Our gross profits went up every month. Our operating expense, we were still in a loss position, but our losses as a percentage of sales went down every month. Every single business metric, new customers, customer repeat purchases, everything that we were monitoring through that entire period kept getting better. And so that's one observation about bubbles in general. The fundamentals can be disconnected, the fundamentals of the business. And of course, as entrepreneurs, you're focused on the fundamentals of the business. The stock price is an output, an ultimate output that you actually have very little control over. Benjamin Graham, the great investor, is famous for saying, in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. In the long term, it's a weighing machine. And so as founders and entrepreneurs and business people, our job is to build a heavy company. We want to build a company that when it is weighed, it is a very heavy company.
Well, Amazon is definitely getting heavy. They will start dispensing prescription drugs through vending machines starting at one medical locations in Los Angeles in December. Skip the pharmacy line with Amazon Pharmacy. But there's a reason that Jeff Bezos was talking about that this week. Technology and tech-related stocks now reflect a record 56% of the stock market. This is 5 percentage points higher than the 2000 dot-com bubble peak. At the same time, defensive stocks make up just 16% of the market, which is the lowest reading on record. This is the first time in history that defensive stocks have sustained a fall below 20%. Meanwhile, traditional cyclicals, stocks that move with the economic cycle, make up 28% of total market cap, near historically low levels. Technology stocks have never been this dominant. And here's that data visualized. I'll let you guys look at it for a few seconds. You can see tech in 2000 making up 50% of the market. Nobody wanted defensive stocks then. In the financial crash, everybody wanted defensive stocks. And now nobody wants defensive stocks and everybody wants tech stocks. And this week, the private company Figure unveiled their new iteration of their humanoid robot. This is what it looks like here. They've got sort of a suit covering all the hardware. And then we saw it in this very nice home doing all sorts of tasks. There it is, throwing a ball for the dog, carrying a tray, and now he's going to start tidying up the room, putting this car and this little stuffed panda into a bucket or a bin or a basket. I think a basket's the appropriate word. And here he is scraping some popcorn off of the table onto a plate, and then he brings that plate over to the sink, and he's just going to rinse off those popcorn kernels. And then he's going to open up the dishwasher and put the plate into the dishwasher with those big hands. There you go. Now he's doing some laundry here, folding the laundry. Now he's a concierge, and now he is an Amazon delivery boy. Now he's organizing packages in a warehouse to be sent down the conveyor belt with the scanner code up, and now he is again a waiter. So Figure had a lot to show here, and a lot of people are talking about this video this week. And then Boston Dynamics released a new video about their humanoid robot hands. They have 3 massive fingers. and the one finger is like a thumb. It can go all the way around the hand. And here are those 3 grippers doing some interesting things, pulling a napkin out of a box here. And here they're moving all kinds of objects around on that shelf. Now it's folding some laundry, putting some blocks. Now it's picking up a steering wheel. But yeah, that's what Boston Dynamics had to show this week. And this week, Tesla unveiled their more affordable models, the Model Y Standard and the Model 3 Standard. The Model Y Standard is starting at about 40 grand USD, the Model 3 Standard at about 37,000. And they're basically stripped down versions of the Model Y and Model 3, but they look pretty similar. And of course, FSD 14 came out this week. AI Driver says that in this clip, when it reaches the drop-off point, it hesitates, trying to find a spot that won't block traffic, almost like it's thinking through its options, just like he described with Robotaxi. And he says Tesla AI seriously cooked with this update, and you guys should go check out his full YouTube video on FSD 14. And Sam Altman posted a Sora update on his blog. He said, "We have been learning quickly from how people are using Sora and taking feedback from users. Sora is their new video generation tool, by the way. We are going to make 2 changes soon and many more to come. First, we will give rights holders more granular control over a generation of characters, similar to the opt-in model for likeness, but with additional controls. We are hearing from a lot of rights holders who are very excited for this new kind of interactive fan fiction and think this new kind of engagement will accrue a lot of value to them, but want the ability to specify how their characters can be used, including not at all. We assume different people will try different approaches and will figure out what works for them, but we want to apply the same standard towards everyone and let rights holders decide how to proceed. There may be some edge cases of generations that get through that shouldn't, and getting our stack to work well will take some iteration. In particular, we'd like to acknowledge the remarkable creative output of Japan. We are struck by how deep the connection between users and Japanese content is. Second, we are going to have to make money somehow for video generation. People are generating much more than we expected per user, and a lot of videos are being generated for very small audiences. We are going to try sharing some of this revenue with rights holders who want their characters generated by users. The exact model will take some trial and error to figure out, but we plan to start very soon. Our hope is that this new kind of engagement is even more valuable than the revenue share, but of course we want both to be valuable. Please expect a very high rate of change from us. It reminds me of the early days of ChatGPT. We will make some good decisions and some missteps, but we will take feedback and try to fix the missteps very quickly. We plan to do our iteration on different approaches in Sora, but then apply it consistently across our products. And more AMD news this week. They're working with Sony on the PS6 with new Radiance cores for faster, better ray tracing. It's set to rival the RTX 5090. A powerful handheld version is also on the way. They're also talking a lot about neural arrays. It combines all GPU compute units for one neural engine. It's massive improvements to upscaling. And this week, Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister of the UK, has been appointed as a senior advisor at Microsoft. And after Nick Clegg's move to Meta, this is highlighting a growing trend of ex-politicians leveraging political experience for Silicon Valley influence. So that concludes this week in tech, guys. We saw the OpenAI AMD deal. We saw AI compute demand breakdown. It's twice the rate of Moore's Law. We saw Jensen break down the China versus US AI race and where they're ahead and where they're behind, and just really trying to create some sense of urgency in the US. And then we also saw that tech stocks are reaching record highs in market share in the overall market. So I'm sure that's getting you guys thinking about how to manage your portfolio going forward. And this was my first time doing this weekly breakdown of tech news. So if you guys enjoy it, I will keep it going, and I'll bring you an episode every weekend, so make sure that you are subscribed if you enjoyed this. And I'll see you guys later today for everything Elon said today. See you guys then.